next book. Take it easy, bubble in a sweet room. Come relax your mind now for me. Settle down now.
NCSA in the morning. Good morning, Barbados. I'm your host, Deanza Roberts, for this morning's show. And if you know anything about the National Council on Substance Abuse, you know the emphasis they place on programming. For that to be possible, there must be a research department. With me this morning is the Research and Information Officer, Jonathan Harewood, on my right, and on my left, the beautiful Laura Foster, the assistant. Good morning, Jonathan.
Good morning, Deanza.
Good morning, Laura.
Good morning, Deanza.
It's a pleasure to join you guys here this morning. And we're having a nice, fresh glass of fruit drink. Yeah? Okay. It's really good to have you here, Jonathan. Jonathan, tell us about research. Tell us about your role here at NCSA and how what you do is important as the NCSA moves forward with its mandate.
Right. Well, as you know, the NCSA's overall mandate is to assist in the reduction of substance abuse in Barbados. And in doing that, they are involved in a number of activities. And the primary role of research has been one of those activities, is to really inform approaches to reducing substance abuse. Now, the approaches that the strategies that we use to accommodate that or to allow that is that research conducts surveys. We do special studies among different populations, whether it is the primary school age, whether it's the secondary school age students, whether it's among offenders, whether it's among the national population as a whole. But those studies range from what we call specific populations to more nationally representative samples. And the information also extends to what we may consider to be, or what is referred to as rapid assessment studies. And these studies are low-cost budget studies that try to get quick information as to what could be occurring in the populations that we are targeting. Yes, those are the primary functions in terms of our research-led activities. But most important thing about the research is that it informs what we do here at the NCSA. And it just not only informs what we do at the NCSA, but it also helps other stakeholders in what they do to tackle the problems associated with substance abuse in Barbados.
I heard you a while ago, you mentioned primary, you mentioned schools. If I could turn to Laura, in my analysis of this whole research department, I was told that you deal specifically with the primary school, and right now you're focusing on primary school surveys. Do you want to tell Barbados about that?
Certainly, Deanza. So right now we are in the process of conducting our third primary school survey. We're focusing on class 3 and class 4 students specifically. We also did that in the previous 2 surveys. And we tried to estimate the levels of drug use amongst those age groups within the primary school population. We also assess factors that are normally related to drug use, at least what the literature tells us is related to drug use. So we look at things like perceptions of harm, attitudes towards drug use, access to drugs, those sorts of things. And what's really great about this survey is because it's a third of its kind, we'll now be able to assess trends to see if we're having any increases or so on, or decreases in drug use.
So these surveys that were conducted before, is there concern from the NCSA's point of view why you're now conducting this new survey? And when do you expect to start this survey?
Okay, well, we're conducting the survey because, research needs to be current. So the last survey was conducted in 2009. These surveys are obviously very expensive to conduct because they're national surveys, so resources have always been a bit of a hindrance for us. So we've decided that it is time, in order to get some current data, especially with a lot of what's going on in the schools now, we need to get an idea of what's happening. And we've actually already begun our data collection, and it should take place for the rest of the month. And after that, we'll then begin our analysis, and shortly thereafter, hopefully you'll be hearing from us with an indication of some of the results.
Lovely. Jonathan, you're not enjoying your glass of fresh drink with us?
Sugar.
Great. I understand. Jonathan, do you think Barbadians understand how important research is to what you do here at the NCSA? Do you think, and how then can you make them understand?
Yes, I think that generally speaking, in many quarters there has been an expression that a concern that research is not taken as seriously as it should. Data collection and the importance of keeping data, storing data, accurately collecting data, supervising data, the importance of the credibility of the data that you have, how it is collected, how it is stored, how it is supervised. All of those issues come into play in respect of how accessible data is, not only for institutions like the NCSA, but how easily accessible and accurate and reliable it is for policy. And we at the NCSA, from time to time, when we meet with the stakeholders, we hold these sessions with them to provide a better understanding of how they collect data, how to improve data collection, how data can impact on what they do, how they disseminate data. And it's also important for us in terms of how we disseminate data, because the key to collecting and storing and analyzing data is disseminating it to the public in such a manner that they can say, yes, this information is useful, it is valuable for me, it helps me understand what is happening with substance abuse, it helps me understand how possibly that my child could be becoming involved in drugs, it helps me understand how to deal with it. And so you find that this effort to inform the public about the efficacy of data collection is a viable asset. And if we can explore that some more, yes, I think that we can really spread that type of thinking, not only, as I said, to the NCSA, but from a national concern as a whole.
I think you do a great job in this department and the NCSA on a whole. But for you Barbadians, if you want to know more about the NCSA, you have to join them on Facebook, subscribe to their YouTube channel. They're on Instagram and on Twitter. With me this morning on this program, I had the lovely Laura Foster, the assistant to Jonathan Yearwood, who is the Research and Information Officer here at the National Council on Substance Abuse. This was NCSA in the Morning. I'm Deanne Roberts, your host. Join me next Monday for another show. Remember, the National Council on Substance Abuse, taking charge of change. Good morning, and thank you, Jonathan, and thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
Touchdown before you make a next move. Take it easy, bubble in a seat. Come relax your mind now for me. Settle down.